Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Powered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I know everyone is doing well and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again because my next guest is a founder of Illuminated Joy, an intuitive mentor, empowerment leader, Reiki master teacher, meditation guide, and specifically, she works with empowering women. But without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Sara McCready. How are you doing today, Sara?
Hello, Luke. I am so great. It is evening my time, and I think this is the absolutely perfect way to unwind my day and have a really deep dive conversation. I'm looking forward to where this conversation is going to lead us tonight and sharing wisdom and nuggets with your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to say that I am a firm believer that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to choose to spend even a segment of your time in the history of your timeline here with me on Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you. So thank you very much for being here at this present moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So let's just get right into it. Tell us a bit about Illuminated Joy that you have also embody that as your name as well. So give us a little framework around now how that came about, how
I
that developed.
do.
Yes. And what is it into
Yeah.
it? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Illuminated Joy is my transformational journey.
Okay.
It is my business that I started 4 years ago, and it came about through a very difficult and challenging time in my life. And it was through that journey of emotional recovery that I developed this business and later on developed a mentorship program. And it is my heart and my soul, and it is my reason for being these days. And so I work with
Mm,
women primarily who have experienced a toxic relationship, whether
right,
that's through work or
right.
through family, intimate, romantic, marriage, or siblings. So the work that I do focuses on the personal experience that I had. So I went
Wow.
through four separate toxic relationships over a 25-year period of my life. And it was the fourth and final toxic relationship where I really started to unpack what was happening inside of these relationships. I was able to finally turn the mirror on myself
Right.
and begin to look inward and start to see how these cycles were occurring over and over again. And doing that inner work to begin to break those cycles for
Mhm.
good so that that dynamic of relationship is not part of my journey any longer.
Wow. And I just have to, or I want to highlight that most important um, point that you made about looking inward because oftentimes and I can relate to that because oftentimes when we go through things we're looking everywhere else except within, and
Yeah.
this has become uh, part of me now that I say what's the common denominator in these specific circumstances, and it's me. Now it doesn't
Mm.
relinquish the fact that someone else is doing wrong or whatnot, but I can't fix that.
Yes,
I can only
that's right.
I can only fix me. So
Yeah.
what part of me is attracting this, engaging in it, being triggered by it, whatever. And the
Yeah.
list goes on. And that is just absolutely amazing. Um,
Yeah.
that
I
you
call that I call that radical self-responsibility
right.
and taking the time. It is not easy work, but it is the most rewarding work you will do in your lifetime if you take time and choose to actively and intentionally move within and start to understand, as you were just describing, what are your
Mm.
triggers? How are these cycles occurring? And what is it that you're doing? So, taking your percentage of responsibility and owning that fully and completely. And that's where the radical responsibility comes in.
Right.
There was, you used the word common denominator. So there was a time in this journey in the early days, if you will, where I was looking back at all four relationships, trying to understand how I had gotten to where I did, that kind of, how did I end up here question. And it was the looking outward piece and recognizing that I was looking outward, pointing the fingers,
Mm.
but I was the common denominator in all of those relationships. And it was
Right.
in that moment that I was able to start unpacking for myself what I was contributing to those relationships. Was
Right.
I responsible for mental and emotional abuse? Absolutely not.
Right.
I'm definitely, as you said, there are terrible things that can happen inside of a relationship. However, that relationship shows up for you that you are not responsible for.
Right.
However, taking responsibility for yourself and what you're tolerating and what you're choosing to participate in,
Mm.
that is where the shifts and changes will occur. That is self empowerment, self leadership, radical self responsibility.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. So what would you say are some of the most, I mean, you probably covered them, and I hope this is not redundant, but what would you say in your perspective are some of the most common things that people have to look within and shine a light on and deal with and
Yeah.
work on? What would you say
Yeah.
in regards, especially in your case with women? What would you say?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So the interesting thing that I've found for myself and for my clients is that as we're going on this journey, we are all high achieving women.
Mm.
We have accomplished a lot in life.
Right.
We've hit some major milestones, had some big goals, things have happened.
Mm.
And yet we're inside of these cycles or dynamics of a relationship, and we're not able to understand why. And the common denominator there, the thread that has linked us all, is this low or no self worth.
Mm.
So when I
Okay.
discovered that was part of the package that I had, I had been confident, but I didn't have that self respect, that self worth piece.
Right.
And so confidence does not equal self worth. And in my mind, I never had equated the two before as being separate. I was like, well, I'm
Okay.
confident, so therefore I have self worth.
Self-worth. Right.
But really, the confidence is a bit of a mirage or a cover for having low or no self worth. Because
Mm.
when you've got that high self esteem, high self worth, you are not tolerating behavior from anyone in any way, shape, or form, whether it's, like I said, at work, through a romantic or intimate relationship,
Right.
from family, from friends. You are not tolerating behavior that is disrespectful to you.
Mm.
So, knowing your deal breakers, having strong boundaries. And here's another really interesting, I guess, little tidbit that I always share with my clients at a certain point in their journey is that people will only disrespect us slightly less than we disrespect ourselves.
Selves. Oh,
And when I,
that's
yeah,
that. Oh, yes. 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 Go ahead,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Well, we can sit with that one for a second. People will
Yes.
only disrespect you slightly less than you disrespect yourself.
Their own self. So that
Yes.
that's actually very enlightening because what you're saying is that we we have to have those boundaries for disrespect, but for them to occur in the first place, there's some disrespect going on within our own self. Wow. And that's what we got to
That's right.
understand. And
That's right.
that can come out in many ways. The
Oh,
disrespect we have for ourselves, the way we react.
so subtle. It
Yeah,
can come out in such subtle ways.
subtle
Yeah.
ways, or yeah, in many ways that shows that we don't have the respect for ourselves that we should. Because when, in my perspective, and then I want to hear yours. In my perspective, when we have respect for ourselves, we are mindful, we are aware of our actions, we're aware of our words, and we control those.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. One of the things that I talk about with my clients is the journey that we go on together through the mentorship program is
Right.
that we are learning to master our emotions or manage our
Mm,
emotions rather, so we can master our energy. So
mm,
that we're really looking after ourselves, like you were just describing, at that
right.
highest level.
Right.
It is your responsibility to know what your boundaries are and to
Mm,
hold them. As we say, boundaries are for us, not for other people. And
right.
the reason for that is so that we are protecting ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and
Right.
financially.
Right.
And when we are not upholding those boundaries, when we are just slightly disrespecting ourselves, that is going to be reflected back to you
Mm,
in even
wow.
more disrespectful behavior. And so, yeah, it's really important to start doing that assessment, that
Right.
self-assessment,
Right.
and taking stock of where you're at. And,
No. Ah,
just touching on that, the how it hides, how we disrespect ourselves can hide. It doesn't have to be big things like alcohol, drugs,
right.
shopping, food, emotional eating. It doesn't have to be in those big grand ways
Mm,
that we are disrespecting ourselves. It can also show up in the more subtle ways, like people pleasing,
mm,
over giving, so saying yes when you really want to say no, so going along to get along.
yes.
Always over compromising, so you're not really having a two-way street in any of your relationships. You're the one that's kind of always putting up with or going along to get along to do whatever the other person wants to do,
Right.
or um, overextending yourself. So you're giving more than you're receiving. And so
Mm,
those are some ways where we are abandoning ourselves.
mm,
And when we abandon ourselves, that is a form of disrespecting yourself.
right. Right. Wow. Thank you for giving us those golden nuggets of awareness and wisdom. Uh, yes, to add to our what I like to call our arsenal of knowledge that we can really use and apply right now. And that's
Yes.
amazing. And that's what I feel that just wisdom, knowledge, and insight that resonates with you. Apply it. It's one thing to hear it and to be able to recite it, but are you embodying it? Are you applying that? And everything that you've said thus far resonates with me. And yes, amazing. Yes, that's absolutely amazing. So tell us a bit about how did this unfold that you became this intuitive mentor, empowerment leader, meditation guide, Reiki master? I mean, I know they're all sort of different modalities, but they all kind of connect at the same time. Yes. So
It's all the
tell us
same. Yeah.
how that unfolded to you even start diving into this and wanting to empower
Yeah.
others. I know you went through, you said, and again, I don't want to sound redundant. I know you went through some things, and from that, I think this kind of unfolded. But just give us your own, out from your own
Yeah.
words, your own picture.
Yeah. It's an interesting journey, and I love to talk about it.
Right.
So I was in corporate for 20 years. I worked
Okay.
in financial services on Bay Street in Canada, which is the
Okay.
equivalent of Wall Street in the US of A. So I
Patient.
was in that industry for 20 years.
Mm,
And it was during that time that I experienced three of the four toxic relationships.
right.
And when I was coming out of the fourth and toxic relationship, it was a marriage. And it was through the breakdown of that relationship where I was, as we say, divinely guided to move out of that relationship. I
Right.
had become mentally and emotionally unwell. I
Mm,
was starting to break down physically. There was
right.
things that were happening.
Right.
And I knew that I needed to get myself to a place where I could begin to recover and recuperate.
Mm,
And it was through my personal recovery journey. So I began receiving Reiki. And while I was receiving Reiki to heal my mind and my body and to start to become whole again, I started to understand in more depth about the cycle of relationships that I had been having. I hadn't understood up until that point what this pattern was and why it kept repeating. And as I was receiving Reiki, I began to open up intuitively. I had intuitive experiences in the past, but didn't dive into that part of my soul calling, if you will. It was, kind of there on the periphery, but I wasn't using my intuition or intuitiveness on the regular.
okay.
And then through this emotional healing journey, things just started happening. Information was coming in, divinely guided information was coming in. And it became very apparent to me that I needed to leave the corporate world
Mm,
and begin serving at a higher level than what I had been. And that higher level was really this calling to educate, inform, and advocate for women who had experienced toxic relationships. And the only way I knew to do that on the 3D level was to offer individual Reiki services. So my business actually initially started as just an in-person Reiki practice.
okay.
But as the universe had its grand plan, and unbeknownst to me, all the women that I was going to be seeing for Reiki were actually women that had experienced a volatile or highly toxic relationship. So
Mm,
they'd experienced mental and emotional abuse. They weren't able to move past those experiences. They were living their lives, but there was still a piece of them that hadn't had closure, didn't understand what that time in their life was all about.
right.
And so, through these individual conversations that I was having, I was kind of being given the next piece of information. Spirit or my guidance was saying, hey, there's more to this than just Reiki. It's time to move up a level.
Oh, okay.
So that's how the program that I work with these women through it kind of came to me. It was divinely guided, as I say. It was
Absolutely.
intuitively downloaded, and yeah, it just
Absolutely.
kind of the puzzle pieces have been falling into place over the course of a 4-year period now. But the first 2 years were really moving me in the direction and on the path to be able to serve other women to help them understand their experience so that they can really step into that full knowing. Like you said, moving from here, knowing it in your brain, but embodying the lessons, moving
Right.
down into your body and fully integrating that information or metabolizing that information so that breaking those cycles. And so that you are living in that place of peace, love, light, joy, and grace, which are really, part of my foundational cores of values is that love, light, joy, and grace, and really living in that peacefulness,
Mm,
discovering what that is. And along the way, as we're going towards that, peace, love, joy, and grace, we're learning what our self-worth really is. We're learning about our boundaries. We're learning how to say no, not today, and say it with confidence and
right.
really starting
Right.
to value ourselves first. So understanding what self-love is at its core, and then again, that embodiment piece, bringing it all together so that you're really living from that place, not just in your mind cognitively, but
Right.
like feeling it and living it. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's kind of the how it all came about.
Wow. Amazing. And thank you for painting that vivid picture and breaking it down, so to speak, for context. Because
Yeah.
it really, to me, all you would have had to say is, I was led, my intuition. But I'm thankful for really getting into, a little bit more detail for the
Mhm.
podcast and for our listeners. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm at a space now, me personally, that if you said my intuition or the universe, I get I get it. That's it for me.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, well, what do you
Mhm.
mean by
Yeah.
that? Nope. And I say that
Yeah.
with from a very positive perspective that I have witnessed that myself, and I still do, and that someone can tell me that now. Years ago, I would have been asking, on purpose, hey, what do you mean? But now I know.
Yes.
If somebody's, oh, I was
Yeah.
divinely guided to this. Oh, that's it. I don't need to know anymore. But thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and that's a beautiful place to be, right?
Right,
To be
right,
in that space where you can have a conversation like we're having right now, where I can say I was divinely guided. I downloaded my program.
right. Exactly.
I share intuitive messages with my
Right.
clients. To be in a space and place where you can speak like that
Hmm.
and be understood. I mean,
Right.
that's the whole reason or a big part of, I would imagine, why you've got your YouTube channel and why
Right.
you do these podcasts,
Right.
because giving voice to others who are receiving downloads, receiving
Right.
intuitive information, and being able to just talk like that openly, that's a really big deal. And so it's
Thank you.
really nice to be able to say, yeah, so I downloaded that message
Right.
and not have to go into like the whole nuts and bolts of how that
Oh,
happens.
yes, yes. No, and I'm so thankful that that I attract what I like to call my tribe so that we can have open dialogues in this way and nothing seems strange or misunderstood or not understood. Now, I of course have spoken with plenty of people that have different perspectives or have elevated in different ways, and they tell me share with me things that I don't quite understand, but it's still I have that foundation where nothing I'm open to, and nothing seems, weird to me, especially on a, spiritual talking, the spirituality and the universe being the center point, people
Yeah.
talk about coding and this and that. I don't quite understand everything and, different modalities, shaman, this and that, but it all there's something in there always that speaks to me, you know
Hmm.
Yes, but
Yeah.
yes, it's amazing,
Yeah.
and I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that I am in this place now, still growing, still elevating,
Yeah.
still, you know,
Yeah.
uh, evolving and
Yeah.
changing. Uh, yes, but at the same time, I have that foundation within myself that now that I can I know what resonates with me. I can get in tune with my intuition, and I know that we are all receivers, and
Mm-hmm.
we can get if we get out of our own way, we will get um, the right unfoldings in our life in regard to what's good for us, serving us, and to be able to go through
Yes.
things that m- may not be serving us that we think at first that isn't, but it is. At the end of the day, it
Yes.
is just like
Yeah.
everything you went through. It was for you, even
Yeah.
though
A hundred
it was hard, it
percent.
was for you. That's why you are who
Yes.
you are today, because of those
Yeah.
uh things that
Yeah.
you went through. Yes. Now, would we
Yeah.
purposely as human beings wish that upon ourselves? No, I don't think so. Because at the time,
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like we're not going to come out on the other side. But in hindsight, when you take inventory of your life, you see, wow, no matter how bad that was, I had to go through that to get the perspective and the vantage point and the knowledge that I have right now.
Yes. 100%. And I am so grateful
Right,
for having the awareness that I have today.
right.
I call it having my breakdown for my breakthrough. And you're right.
Mm,
It was excruciation. That fourth and
mm,
final relationship was truly the dark night of the soul.
mm.
And I understand now in hindsight, in retrospect, and growth, what that was all about. And
Right.
it was
Yes.
probably the most painful journey I've
Mm, right.
had to date. But what I've gained from going through that is so much bigger and so much more expansive. And there is that it absolutely all worthwhile. And really learning whether it's, through an experience that I've had or through some other type of hardship, learning that this is happening for you, not to you, is really one of the biggest growth mindsets you can have. Because when you're stuck in this is happening to me, you're keeping yourself stuck in victim mode. And this is something I really
I
work on
agree.
with my clients because when they start on their journey, they're very much like, why did this happen to me? Why did he or she do that? Why? This is all happening to me.
Mm,
And when we begin to process those big emotions, we're able to shift our perspective on it's happening for you. There are lessons that you're receiving, and when you can shift your perspective and open up that lens a little bit so you can see what those lessons are, that's when everything starts to change for you.
I
And
agree.
knowing that this is a journey, not a destination. So,
Right.
yes, I've reached this level, and there's going to be another level. There's going to be
Right.
stuff that's going to happen. And I'm going to go through that
Yep.
reiteration again.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
for painting that picture to give us some, some clarity on the cycle and the flow of life in general. And
Mm.
that's amazing. And a life that is congruent with embracing growth and yes, evolution. That is absolutely amazing, Sarah, and I appreciate it. So, how can you share with us audibly? How can people find you? Do you have a website that
Yes.
you could share audibly here with us?
Yeah, so my website is www.illuminatedjoy.com,
Right.
and I am on all social media platforms under Illuminated Joy. So my business name is Illuminated Joy. That name has a lot of significance and came about as a result of this journey that I have been on, and joy being one of the core values, and illuminated meaning light, of course, and bringing light and joy into other people's lives. That is the way that I serve in this world, and being the light. We have gone through collectively a huge transformation over the last 4 years. And being a cycle breaker and a way shower and bringing in that light to the physical plane is an important part of the journey that I'm on. And it does bring me big joy and great joy to be able to offer that light and to share the unconditional love from source, and to be able to help others find their way through that dark night of the soul.
Wow, amazing. I just want to thank you again for coming onto the platform and sharing and bringing more tremendous value to not only myself, but to the platform and everyone that is tuning in. Thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you. You are the reason why I do this, part of the reason, a big part of the reason. Uh, I just want to thank you and be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, share this, help the platform grow and help spread these amazing dialogues to humanity. I appreciate you. Until next time, be sure to go in the description and also check out the links. Check out Sarah McCready's links as well. They'll be right there. And also check out the Enlightened Empowered Evolved website as well. Until next time, love and appreciation. Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. See you soon.